Big question to start a big show. Are we failing a generation of young people? Now, that sounds pretty heavy for a Wednesday lunchtime, but this is what we're going to be digging into today with our guest, who we're going to introduce very shortly. For those who've not joined the show before, welcome. This is We Are Careers. This is your weekly bite-sized CPD snippet for all of our kind of people working across the career sphere. So anybody working within career development work, some shape or form, this is your opportunity to kind of hear about relevant topics affecting the sector, all of the latest news from the Career Development Institute and the wider career sphere, and a chance to hear some shout outs to some of the inspirational members of our community. My name's Chris Webb. I'm a higher education careers professional, and I'm also a member of the CDI, RCDP, and I'm joined as always by my fantastic co-host, meet Sabiha. So Sabiha, it's Wednesday. It's a little bit grey outside, certainly where I am. How are you doing this week? You having a good start to the week?
It's been, do you know what? It's been a fantastic start to the week. And how about for the rest of you that are watching us right now, whether you're watching us live or you're watching us on the replay, how is your sort of kind of space that you are carving out where you are, serving your clients? How is that looking? And let us know, use the chat box feature. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're regular and this is part of now your regular CPD viewing, thank you so much for the support. And you can make sure that you never miss any of these episodes by hitting that bell button or that subscribe button. Make sure that you get the regular, you get those reminders. Because I know if you're anything like me and Chris, and including our guests, you've got a heavy schedule, and it's always good to have those reminders. I'm known as Meet Sabiha. I work internationally, helping young professionals get unstuck and get back into career flow without the stress. And I'm also the creator of the I Am Thriving Career Coaches Program, where I work with international coaches to help them support their clients create even more powerful, transformative coaching experiences without wasting resources and times on tools that don't work. Now, we're heading over to the Careers Cheers part of the show today. And I know Chris has got somebody that he wants to kickstart their Careers Cheers with. So I'm asking you, the viewer, right now, to come and join us and drop a clapping emoji or just even to say congratulations, because this is a safe space that we're creating where we want to celebrate our profession and the amazing work that is going on in so many different aspects and so many different sort of kind of spheres of our profession. So Chris, who are we celebrating? Who's the first person that we're going to be celebrating today?
Well, first, a little impromptu kind of last minute careers cheers. I'm going to bring this up on the screen. So we've got Catherine Jennick watching live for the first time this series. So the reason I bring Catherine, great to have you with us live first time, but also because this connection with today's guest came about from Catherine. So we've got kind of the 6 degrees of sort of separation thing in there. Big thumbs up from Sam. So yeah, quick kind of like impromptu careers cheers shout out. So thanks for that, Catherine. So our first careers cheers this week is going out to Barbara Harrison, Learning Resource Centre Manager, Careers Lead at John Hampton Grammar School. This was something we came across on LinkedIn through a few of my contacts. And she shared basically the kind of description that came from the school's recent Ofsted report that really kind of referenced exactly what had been going on with the careers kind of service, with the careers programme there. Just it was really nice to see that actually in print on an outstanding Ofsted report, and a careers practitioner being a big part of why a school got that verdict. So a massive congratulations to Barbara and the school, and fantastic work advocating for our profession as well through the work that you're doing. So that is our first careers cheers for the week, Sabiha, and I believe number 2 you are going to take care of.
I have. So thank you for that, Chris, and congratulations. My next cheer is going out to Georgie Blackburn, RCDP, whose original LinkedIn post on supporting a young client was part of the inspiration behind the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is #careers impact. Now, I'm going to share some initial details, but in the CDI news section, I'm going to be going into a little bit more detail. So make sure that you stay tuned right till the end, because we've got a jam-packed news section, including CDI news, but also as well, sort of the broader CDI sector as well. Now, have you heard careers impact, the #careers impact? David Morgan, the CDI and Chief Executive, has been given a call out to all careers professionals, whether you're a member of the CDI community or you're not, it really doesn't matter. We're championing in his Chief Executive's updates to share stories of impact. We're encouraging you, the professional, to sort of kind of basically promote the work that you are doing with your clients as part of the #careers impact. Now, these examples will be collated with permission, of course, of the clients and used in the future as part of a campaign to promote the value of our profession in a broader scale. So please do share. And if you're somebody that's proactive on social media, or even in just whatever line of work that you're doing, making sure that you're using that hashtag careers impact in whatever it is that you're promoting, and the stories that you are creating and the transformation that you are creating is going to really help. And as I said, I'm going to be going into more details why that matters and how that's going to help you, the professional working in our sector right now. And so please do join in. Thank you, Catherine, for joining in. If you can, let us know where you're watching from this today, and let us know what type of work that you're doing and what part of the world that you're watching from as well. We always like to know who our audience is and how we can best serve you as well. And so without further ado, I want to head on over to our guest today. So Sam, thank you so much for joining us. And for those people that don't know you, please do share a little bit with our audience, a little bit about your background and the work that you do.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching. So my name's Sam Moinet. I'm the founder of Student Breakthrough and the Educators Coaching Academy. I was a teacher for 5 years in secondary school. And in that time, I saw so many problems when it came to the mental health of teachers and students. So having gone through my own struggles, I eventually decided to do something about it. And I set up a great coaching company and created my own program. And that's helped thousands of students all around the world with their mental health. And I want to train teachers to use that same program so that we can transform mental health support in schools.
Fantastic.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. You got me thinking about that Austin Powers joke. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go into that now. So, I mean, that's really interesting and really kind of succinct there, Sam. And I guess from that experience you've had, as you mentioned, from going through sort of education, both as a learner and as a teacher, and now into kind of seeing it from a slightly different perspective. I know the big thing that we want to focus on today is that big question about, is the education system we have at the moment, and we have to caveat this by saying we're kind of largely talking about the English system, because there are differences across the home nations and of course other parts of the world. But is that education system fit for purpose at the moment? And if not, where potentially is it failing young people? So I think that's kind of going to be the place where we're going to start. So I guess kind of looking and sort of reflecting on your journey so far and what's got you to this stage, which of those sort of aspects of our current education system do you feel maybe are kind of not quite keeping up with what needs to be there from a young person's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great to go a little bit further back. I mean, I know that was a little bit of like a short answer to my story, but it might give better context to actually expand on that. And that actually then showed the inspiration for what I'm doing now. So yeah, I mean, my journey started when I was a classroom teacher, and in my first year of teaching it, everything really started to unravel for me, mainly around anxiety. And it wasn't around the job or the kids or the students. It was around about, how I felt about myself. I had unfortunately had a diagnosis of Crohn's disease. It meant I couldn't go and pursue my dream of being a soldier. And this whole failure really started to bubble up and come to the surface. And it gets so bad on some days where, I'm not sure if you had like a weighted blanket on you, but it was almost like a 200 kg weighted blanket, and I couldn't physically go into school and teach. There'd be some times where, if you can imagine a room of 30, 16-year-olds, and I have to turn away from the class, not to write on the whiteboard, but just because I had tears rolling down my face. And it was at that moment where a student asked me like, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, on the surface, "Yeah, I'm fine." But, fine is feelings inside not expressed. And it was really for the first time that I realized that, well, I wasn't okay and I needed to get some support. So yeah, the school system back then, I mean, I was a new teacher. I wanted to make a good impression. I didn't really have the confidence to speak out or what was going on for me. So I just kind of went through the motions of looking like I had everything under control, let's say. But it got to a point sometimes where you have to reach out and find support. And this is why my mission comes into coaching, because on the 23rd of April, 2015, I met someone, and this guy was a coach. And for the first time in my life, I was able to open up, express, not suppress. He was a heart with ears, he would listen to me. And it was a really amazing moment where I felt like for the first time, I had this pressure and weight lifted off my shoulders. And I went back into school, became a much better teacher, but then started seeing so many students that were struggling with anxiety, not feeling good enough. And I really felt like we weren't doing enough, not just as a school, right? But we weren't doing enough to give these students strong foundations. Yeah. My favorite quote is that it's easier to build strong children, than to repair broken adults. And obviously the work that you guys do in careers is so much like that, because the more awareness people can gain around themselves and also the future direction they want to take, then the less, let's say, obstacles or challenges they might face when they're not feeling fulfilled in a passion, right, in the future. So that was it for me. And then since then, created Student Breakthrough, which was my coaching company that worked with students one-on-one. And since then, trained lots of teachers, and now created this program called the Educators Coaching Academy, which goes into school to train teachers to become mental health coaches. Student mental health improves, students are getting more support, staff mental health improves because staff are actually learning the coaching skills. It's really personal development for teachers, but you can't call it that because I haven't got enough time.
It's interesting you say that, Sam, because I think, number one, the fact you're talking about people here, and I think one of the key things we want to get across is, we are talking about from an education system point of view, where there might be kind of things that are broken or need fixing, that, as you've said, a lot of educators might agree with, but what we're absolutely not doing is kind of putting this on educators, careers advisors, career development professionals. This is, as you say, it's about finding ways to kind of provide those solutions. And it's interesting because I know that you mentioned, when we've kind of spoken before, that mental health and wellbeing angle, that aspect is such an important part of where you feel maybe there isn't enough of that happening at the moment and where there's something missing. So what have you kind of seen, I guess, from your experience? You mentioned about your own personal experience, but from the stuff with the Coaching Academy and the work you've done with young people, where do you feel that there's maybe that benefit missing at the moment because we're not doing enough work in schools on that subject?
Yeah, just to, before we dive into that was my big mission, really, why I was like, okay, we've got to do more, because it's great to do mental health support. Like, it's phenomenal, giving teachers new skills to better understand their emotions, to better support the students. It's great on prevention and not reaction. But what I came to realize was, like, there's so many ways, and I will come back to your question in a sec, Chris, so many ways that we can tweak and change and adapt the parts of the system that are outdated, right, that are archaic, that aren't fit for purpose. And that in itself will improve mental health in schools. That in itself will build strong children, not to, to create resilient adults. That in itself, right, will help people when they get into employment for the first time, have resiliency, right, and not feel like overwhelmed and things like this. So that's really why I went for this education disruptor thing and trying to bring people together to create some lasting change. Because
I love that, Sam. I love that. Sorry, Sam, I'm just kind of coming in. I just love that. And I just want to even kind of bring in some of the comments that we're getting coming through as well. How many of you who are watching this right now are resonating either with Sam's personal story and journey, perhaps maybe when you first started out, or maybe you're watching this right now and you're about to embark on your, journey, or you've just started out and you can really resonate with that? Because we did say, as Chris said at the top of the show, we are going deep today in today's show. And, I know for some of you watching right now, this could be either a topic that's most welcome because you've been feeling and experiencing things that you haven't yet been able to put words to or a label to, or perhaps this is just super awkward for you. Perhaps maybe talking about feelings is just so outside of your comfort zone, and this is just something. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to open this up to have this discussion so that we can help you and support you as professionals, but also as well in terms of the service that you do. Because as Sam said, the more equipped you are, the more in tune you are. And I love that saying that you just said, Sam, about the heart with ears. How many of you as professionals watching right now feel that you are heart with ears when you're listening to your clients talk about their career struggles as well? I just want to bring in a couple of people coming in at the beginning of the show saying congratulations with the careers cheers. We've got Francis Queen watching live for the first time. Thanks to Sam, really looking forward to it. So Sam, you clearly had a fan that came this lunchtime, so wonderful. Well done, Barbara, congratulations on the work. Georgina, we love reading about your career's impact story, great initiative and fantastic outcome. We've got a viewer here watching from Mid Wales, looking forward to hearing from Sam again as well. So are you getting value? For those of you that came and you're listening to Sam right now, are you enjoying, are you liking? We're going to get in more deeper as well. And then just one Facebook user saying, thank you so much for the honesty, Sam, it really helps a lot of people. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. So I know Chris has got another question that he wants you to sort of kind of get into. So Chris, go on. What have you got for Sam?
Yeah, I think, Sam, it's really interesting. You've kind of come onto it nicely around the education disruptor side, and I think it'd be great to hear a little bit more about, as you said, the intention behind that and also where you're kind of hoping to go with it. But I know, as you said, mental health and wellbeing is kind of one strand that you kind of feel needs tweaking within the system, and you've given some really good reasons why that is. But I think there's some other elements to it as well that we've talked about in the past, particularly around things like entrepreneurship and creativity and fostering that lifelong learning, that you feel maybe at the moment there are bits that still need tweaking. So perhaps just kind of as a starting point, tell us a little bit more about the education disruptors side of things, and how you're hoping to bring that community together to maybe tackle some of these problems.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big beast. It's a lot of politics around it. It's the education system is up to 200 years old, so it's a big mission. And when I'm not doing it on my own, but I'm just bringing people together to promote the discussion. But for me, it's like mental health and well-being, because when we coach students and when you listen to people, when you have that connection, right, heart with ears, empathy, whatever you want to say, like, people feel valued and respected. They feel understood. And if you can get that right, in terms of people's mental health, and it's like building the strong foundations for a big house, a strong house. The problem we've got at the moment is that we're so focused on assessment, high stakes, right? High stakes, pressures, summative assessment, without building any strong foundations. So it's like the house is basically crumbling down, and you've got other governments. The national curriculum came in 1982, I think, in 1988. And all these governments have bolted on different parts to the education system. And it's now, I call it like Frankenstein's monster, right? Where there's like so many different things going on. But ultimately it comes down to, for me as well, a great tip here is like the amount that we teach in the curriculum, and what we teach really needs to be addressed. There's a great example of this. So for COVID, pre-COVID, we taught 4 history topics at GCSE, right? So here's a small example of how just changing this will improve mental health. Unlike what I'm doing, right? I'm doing what I think is really important. You change this one thing, it improves it drastically. We teach 4 history topics at GCSE. It is intense, right? Trying to do that in 2 years is full on. Unless you're, let's say a super and gifted and talented student, if you want to use that language, like, you can get it. But the rest feels like catch up. COVID happened, we taught 3, so we reduced 1. So straight away, you're reducing the workload on teachers. Students feel less pressure to like be crammed full of knowledge, and teachers can actually maybe explore a little bit more of those topics and create this love of learning and fostering like excitement for the subject of history, instead of just ramming like content down students' throats. So my one argument here is like, to bring back a love of learning is just to reduce this bloated curriculum, right? Reduce that bloated curriculum, focus on cutting that back, and not just have the mindset of knowledge. Knowledge to pass exams. Where are the skills?
Yeah.
That's what employers are lacking, the skills, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's such a strange thing as well, isn't it? Because, as you say, that sort of idea that when we speak to kind of employers, and again, it does vary, but you get a lot of this stuff, as you rightly say, around the skills agenda. We're not preparing young people well enough with the skills needed for work. That's been a dialogue and narrative for years and years now. But then equally, it seems as though sometimes the political commentators or MPs are slightly disconnected from that. That they agree with all the skills. Let's try and put more money into further education apprenticeships. But as you say, actually within the curriculum, we're still focusing on this idea that knowledge really matters, and it's about a knowledge-rich curriculum and all these sort of things. So it's interesting. I mean, if we've got people kind of watching, particularly if you're involved in education and if you're teaching at the moment, to let us know your thoughts on this. It'd be really interesting to kind of hear what you think, because again, there are often very different perspectives from career development professionals, those outside of the sector, and those kind of working as teachers. But I mean, Sam, do you think there's a chance of kind of resolving some of that conflict? Because as you said, it's such a, I guess, kind of a messy picture with the amount of people that are involved in deciding what goes into education.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the awareness is the first bit, and bringing people together. And I do feel like there's a COVID's changed things in lots of ways for people. But I do think we had such a great chance with COVID to like actually make some changes. Like, there's the example, right? Dropping down the curriculum a little bit. Okay, is one small example. But we went back to how things have always been done. So yeah, for me, it's like bringing people together to promote the awareness, because there's so many industry experts that understand this, so many teachers that understand this, but it's almost like so big and scary. Like, where do you even start? But I think the awareness is most important. Once you've got that awareness and you're bringing those change makers together, then you can go away and take action. And I guess my dream would be to like maybe have an education secretary that's been a teacher or has been in the classroom, who's got some industry experience, or even to have someone like on that panel or on that team, or just someone that can actually like offer their own expertise.
Imagine that. An education tech could be. I mean, it is something that's come up in so many conversations, and it's interesting because other countries have done it. Canada did it a few years ago, for example, having an EdSec that had been from teaching background. I think lots of career development professionals are going to be watching this, really resonating with them, because a lot of the things you're talking about here are the same challenges we face as a careers profession. Again, in the awareness raising side. Sabiha, I'm going to come over to you because I think we've got some questions that link really on from this. So I'm just pass over to you on this.
No, thank you for that, Chris. And again, Sam, I feel like, what you're talking about here is kind of, what it's something that I feel strongly about, and I know many of our viewers do as well, is about connecting the dots, taking a holistic approach to the work that you're doing, that you're not just working in silo and just, okay, like this is what I do and this is what I'm interested in. It's actually sort of kind of looking at the broader picture, because one of the things that my clients say to me time and time again is, what's the purpose of education? And if we're all honest, is the idea behind education is that ultimately you're able to create a livelihood, and ideally a successful livelihood, whatever that is, in whatever sort of kind of area of passion, skills, and sort of foray that you're in. And so to be able to equip ourselves with the skills that we need to be able to do that successfully without sort of kind of ending up on the wrong route or having to struggle or feeling overwhelmed. And this is where that support mechanism comes into place. Catherine has just come in and she said it's such a missed opportunity to make changes during and after the impacts of COVID. So definitely someone resonating there. We've got Facebook user here. Love your points on the curriculum, Sam. It needs a complete overhaul to include things that will really be useful to young people, like mental health and knowing. And what's really interesting is when you look at the data and the statistics, you would think that, as a generation now, that mental health, because, we think that we're, with access to as much information, we're in a time and age, we live in a time and age now where we have access to information like never before. And so you would think something like mental health would be going, be reducing. And in fact, it's going on the up, particularly amongst young people and particularly amongst men as well, when you look at the data as well. And so this Facebook user was just saying, and knowing how to manage their careers. Another really important group to input to this is young people themselves. I think that's a really great point. I think always we should be the service users that we are engaging. We should always have a voice. And they are so much knowledge and wisdom. We've got another Facebook user saying Wales has just gone through a big review of curriculum ethos and content book over the last 5 years, and the new curriculum is now being rolled out for this year, and they've included a link as well. I suspect that might be Carolyn. If it is Carolyn, hello and welcome. Always good to see you. And then I know we had a question from Liz that I'm going to come to, and then I know I've got a couple of questions around your movement and what you're doing. And so this is a question from Liz, which is, do you know of any education systems that focuses on mental health well-being, Sam?
Not like specifically just focus on that. I mean, for me, my thing is like, if we can train more teachers in this coaching space, then teachers are going to feel more valued. They're going to give, better support for the students, more prevention, things like that. So for me, my thing is like, if you're bringing coaching into education, I think is a really great idea.
Yeah.
In terms of like education systems, not specifically, but obviously you can look at Scandinavia. They've got great models. Lots of countries, by the way, do not even test until at least 7 or 8 years old. Like my brother was a year one teacher, right? And he taught he had like kids crying in his class who were going through phonics exams, phonics screenings. We're the only country that has these big, high stakes pressure exams at 16.
Yeah.
And I'm not. It's a big conversation to talk about the whole GCSE thing here, but I'm just saying, like, just because it's been done this way for so long doesn't mean it needs to be carrying on this way. We've got 1 million students that don't go to school, right? 1 million students aren't going to school. We've got 40,000 teachers that leave the profession. A third of students don't get their maths or English GCSE. Like, spoiler alert, right? It ain't working. Like, it's not working, surely. Yeah. There are parts that are working, by the way, but there's some significant changes that we can make here. Significant changes.
Yeah, I hear you, Sam. I hear you. And I think definitely the audience is resonating with the message well. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're listening to Sam and you're going, I completely disagree with what Sam has to say. Well, we'd love to hear from you as well. So make sure that you join into the conversation as well. Now, as always, we're running sort of towards the end of the show. So there's just a couple of questions. Just one more question that I want to sort of kind of bring to you, Sam, before we wrap up today's show. And that is really, we've heard you talk about, your education disruptor. I know you have events and you've got your movement that is all about sort of kind of, promoting this kind of coaching aspect around sort of mental health. So how can sort of career professionals get involved, and what can we do to help affect change in this space?
Yeah, I'd go for the first one first, like how you can get involved. So if you're interested, by the way, in like learning some more coaching skills, we run a course called the Coach Breakthrough, which basically trains anyone that works with kids, parents, students, coaches or careers, anyone, teachers, on how to coach students. And you learn loads of new skills, better connect with young people, join our community of people all around the world, and you can become an accredited student coach through us. The other thing is, if you're watching this in a school and you're like, wow, I really feel that this Educators Coaching Academy can really improve the mental health of our staff and students and create that coaching culture, then yeah, check out the ecatraining.com, and you can find it on Student Breakthrough as well. But there's a need for this. Like, we've just got a school in China signed up. My course is being translated into Chinese, right, to help Chinese teachers. We've got schools in Spain, hopefully in Ireland soon. So there is a need for this. And if you want some groundbreaking support for your school, that is one investment that helps loads of people for mental health. This is it. And this is going to make lasting change. And then, in terms of like my last tip, I guess how you can better support or maybe in terms of promoting change in your school, it has to be from the ground up as teachers. It has to be from like careers professionals. It's never going to be from the top down. Okay. So do your thing to set a great way to set boundaries for yourself, right? Like, set better boundaries. Teachers work so many hours, but ultimately, if you can set better boundaries, you're going to like energize yourself. Your mental health is going to be better. Then you can be that great heart with ears.
Yeah.
Then you can be that phenomenal careers coach or careers guidance person that can help understand that young person and then, guide them into the right direction. Because if you're not showing up, if you're showing up less than an 8 out of 10 on your energy, then you're going to serve that young person at, let's say, a 4. All right. So you've got to make sure your energy is great. You've got to make sure you're like, topping up yourself before you can go and serve others.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Fill your cup first. It's like when you get on a plane, isn't it? When you get that instruction, when they tell you, put your mask on first before you start helping other people. Because if you, like you said, Sam, if you're not in a good headspace, if you're not emotionally in a great space, you're not going to be as transformative. You're not going to be as effective. So yeah, it starts with you. I'm a wholehearted believer in that. And on that note, we've run out of time. So Chris, what are our final thoughts for today? I know.
Always the same. So we've been sharing on the screen in front of you ways that you can kind of get in touch with Sam. Again, if you want to find out more about Student Breakthrough or the Educators Coaching Academy, I should say, take a look at those links. Again, I'll pop them back up on the screen in a second, just in case you didn't capture them the first time. But we've garnered so much kind of conversation and debate already in the comments. We've got, a variety of other things coming in. We're unfortunately not going to have time to go through all of them, but there's just one final one I want to pop up because I think it kind of really connects again with a lot of the stuff that Sam's been talking about, which is Catherine joining us live and now being our most commented person, which is brilliant. But this is a quote actually from Imagine If. So people may have come across Ken Robinson, the late Ken Robinson.
Great book, by the way. Catherine.
Brilliant book. Yeah. It's a phenomenal book, about what the meaning behind education and how we can kind of actually bring that into the systems we have. But this quote is absolutely fantastic. Education must enable students to understand the world around them, the talents within them, so they can become fulfilled individuals and active, compassionate citizens. The link that Carolyn Parry shared, which was around the curriculum for Wales, I know that they are building in a lot more of an holistic element to the education system. So do have a look for those sort of things and some of the systems that Sam's mentioned. But Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're going to stick around for a few minutes for the news section in case we get any more questions in. That would be brilliant. But I think that pretty much, Sabiha, takes us on to the news section for this week. So what have we got coming up in the news, starting with our CDI news for this week? What's coming up?
Okay, guys, what have I got? What have I picked out this week for the CDI news? So we've got the Presidents and Fellows celebration, which is going to be taking place on Tuesday, the 1st of November, 1 till 4 p.m. And the great thing is it's actually a live event that's going to be taking place in London. So you can join the CDI team for a special lunch to celebrate the centenary of the careers development sector. And it's sort of also as well making up for the fact that earlier this summer, the summer event had to be cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances. Now, the lunch will be held from 1 till 4 p.m. on Tuesday, the 1st of November, at the delightful Rubens at the Palace Hotel in London. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity to catch up with colleagues from the past and present over a sumptuous 3-course meal. You'll also hear from Carolyn Parry, the CDI president, and other speakers as they share memories from the professional bodies for career development during the meal. Places are available for invited guests also, and it starts at a price of £40 per person. And you can head on over to the CDI website to get more details and get yourself and your colleague booked in. Now, I mentioned the careers chair earlier that I was going to give you more details about the message that David Morgan, the CEO of the CDI, has been sharing with us. And for any of you that's watching right now and you're wondering, oh, what is this CDI? I'm not a member of this. And what does RCDP mean? Then please do head on over to the website. There's tons of information. And, you know, for the price of a Buddha Bowl, you can join the CDI, and there is a whole host of resources and support. You know, you've heard our guest Sam today speak about how important it is to have that support, and the CDI is one such support structure that you as a professional can get access to. Now, one of the key messages that David Morgan is talking on and presenting on is the need for a career strategy that aligns across the delivery system. This is particularly important in Wales, but also a key part of the careers review in Scotland. And it's all about bringing the careers ecosystem closer together. However, the strategy needs to go beyond this, and the recognition of the potential career development to play a role in addressing some major social and economical challenges. And within that, you know, mental well-being sits firmly within that. Now, by exploring career development potential to address the challenges such as social mobility, the UK's long-term productivity issues, and you know, we can look at ways of addressing the long-term productivity issues, as well as generating the skills for the future economy, which is again, you know, what we've been talking about here today. Now, the strategy can shift. And we're encouraging you, the members and non-members, to shift from to an investment mindset. So what does that mean? I'll leave you with this question, which is, how can an investment in careers development for young people and adults generate much greater benefit for the country? So this is going to be the theme that the CDI is going to be continuing to look to address. And the hashtag is all about making sure that us as career professionals get our voices and the transformation that we are creating with our clients be heard as well. For more details, as always, head on over to the website to learn more. And then finally, story number 3 is the CDI South Wales regional meeting. Now, I'm mentioning the CDI South Wales regional meeting because that's the next one that's coming up. However, there are a whole host of regional meetings where you meet like-minded professionals. So head on over to the website. You will find, so if you're not based in the Southwest region, or you're based elsewhere in the country, then head on over the website. We'll tell you when the next and nearest meeting is. And funnily enough, Catherine doesn't know this, but sort of the guest speaker at the Southwest Regional meeting will be Catherine Jenick. And that's going to be taking place on Monday, the 31st of October at 4 p.m. So join the CDI Southwest reps, Laura Collins and Oliver Jenick, for a great opportunity to network and meet other practitioners in the region. And you're going to get an experienced career development practitioner, Catherine Jenick, we're joining you all to introduce you to the adult focused version of her popular What's Your Strength resources, and we'll outline some strategies for using these with clients, as well as there'll be an opportunity to discuss best practice and ideas in breakout rooms and catching up with the latest news from the CDI. So that's my news wrap up. Chris, what have you got for us this week?
Yeah, thanks, Sabiha. Just kind of 3 sort of relatively short news stories for us this week. So first one is eagle-eyed kind of viewers on LinkedIn may have seen that there's kind of a new series of blogs discussions coming out from Claire Guy, who's a career consultant at Exeter, Stephen Haynes, who's Director of Public Affairs at Impetus. And what they've been doing is collating some of the ideas that Claire's pulled together from her Careers 101 campaign, which was all about challenging aspects of careers work that are often kind of misunderstood, should we say. So that idea that maybe a careers professional will tell a young person what to do with their life, that type of thing. So lots of different careers professionals, myself included, submitted some videos about the things that we really dislike about the perception of careers work. Claire's kind of collated those together. She and Stephen are going to be doing a blog discussion series about all these areas. So do keep an eye out for those. I think it'll be really, really interesting. Second news story kind of links some of the stuff that Sam's been talking about. This is a little bit kind of left field, but just been reading in the New Indian Express, I should say, that India is going to be the first country to expand their design thinking and innovation courses throughout their curriculum within schools. specifically in a bid to tackle kind of what they consider to be below par problem solving and innovation abilities in young people. So again, quite interesting looking at a country that's adopting or trying to adopt a different model. I was working with a careers professional from India last year who was studying at the University of Derby, and he would often talk about some of this stuff around how the Indian education system differed, particularly where there was that kind of absence of career development work. So this could be quite an interesting way to perhaps provide a route in on that front. And then our final sort of story is a new campaign from Adzuna, so the organisation job search engine, and they're running this Make Salaries Mandatory campaign, which is all about increasing transparency in job descriptions, making it basically illegal to not post a salary as an employer. So really welcome move there. You can actually sign the petition through the link that I've shared on the screen there. So if you are interested in getting involved, do sign the petition and do check out what Adzuna are doing with that campaign as well. But that's the end of the news for this week. Brings us very, very nicely to the end of the show. Do join us in 2 weeks' time, where we're going to be welcoming Maria Viteratos from the UAE, live from the UAE, we think, to talk about an international perspective on career development and the work that she's been doing out in the Middle East to really kind of grow the careers community there, but also kind of the public work you may have seen her doing through YouTube, LinkedIn, generally to promote and advocate on behalf of the careers profession for young people. So don't miss it. Should be a really, really interesting episode. And that much wraps up this week. So a massive thank you to Sam. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. Absolute pleasure. And thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. And Sabiha, as always, thank you so much for being a wonderful co-host. And I'll leave the final word with you for this week, if that's okay.
That's all for us. That's all for us from us this week. Thank you, guys. Join us next session. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody.